Talking about Afghanistan today, I've had 3 tours of duty in Afghanistan, twice wearing a military uniform and once the pinstripe suit as the ambassador. So 5 years over a 10-year period. But I want to say up front that that time doesn't necessarily translate into expertise. Very quick story, true story. When I went to Afghanistan on my first tour of duty in 2002, I knew nothing about the country. I had about a month of reading to get ready. So I jumped into Kabul and immediately started meeting with every Afghan I could to better understand the situation on the ground. One of whom was a Brigadier General Asifi, commander of the Afghan Border Police. At the time, we had dinner at the Khyber restaurant. And I've got my interpreter with me, Dr. Najib, enthusiastic young man who was a pretty good interpreter, but as he'd get excited, the accuracy of his translation would come down. So I was with General Asifi asking questions about Afghan history, culture, and General Asifi got more and more excited. He was really thrilled with this conversation. So he got to what I know was the culminating point in the conversation, and my interpreter then translated it as General Asifi just wanted to say that we Afghans, now listen to this, we Afghans have a long and proud history of inviting foreigners to our country and then hospitalizing them. And what I think that the Dr. Najib meant to say is inviting foreigners to our country and then showing them great hospitality. However, that it is 2014, I'm still not sure, shows that I'm no expert on Afghanistan. But based upon a little bit of time on the ground, I'll proceed here. So let me get on with my remarks. And I'd like to make this presentation in 3 parts. And part number 1, I'd like to talk about the various strategies that the United States has applied in Afghanistan since our intervention in 2001. And I'd then like, as part of that, to talk about the challenges that we and the Afghans are going to face together going forward this year and beyond. Secondly, I'd like to give very briefly a description from my perspective as U.S. Ambassador in Afghanistan 2009 to 2011, who are some of the key policy actors as we sat in that embassy? What's the constellation of policy actors that we were dealing with? And then third and finally, a very brief critique of counterinsurgency doctrine. I think, Martha, they've had some readings already on counterinsurgency doctrine. Here's the country of Afghanistan, and if this, the northeast corner, the Wakhan corridor, the border of China, was New York City. Down here would be New Orleans. The Hindu Kush going from the northeast down about 2/3 of the way through the southwest. If you were to put the peaks of the Rocky Mountains in this area right here, they would be pretty modest foothills. You've got tremendous diversity of terrain from high mountains to plateaus and very hot plain areas to the Great Red Desert of the south, the Great Ghazni Desert. We had, during the time I was in command in Afghanistan, my second tour of duty, 1 infantry battalion of about 600 soldiers who in the winter was fighting at altitudes of about 7,000, 8,000 feet and in a lot of snow. And then they got relocated down to the Red Desert in the summer, and they were fighting in the dunes of about 10 meters high in temperatures of about 120 degrees. If you look at the infrastructure of the country, never strong but destroyed by the Soviet occupation and the Civil War. If you're talking about a ride from Kabul down to Kandahar, even using the ring road, which is now pretty badly damaged, this can be a 2 to a 3-day expedition. And then lastly, in terms of the neighborhood that Afghanistan lives within, you have Pakistan to the east and the south, Iran, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, very fluid, dangerous borders, and then a small border with China.